Hamas will understand that by attacking us, they've made a mistake of historic proportions. We will exact a price that will be remembered by them and Israel's other enemies for decades to come.
We are fighting against human animals and we are acting accordingly.
I am deeply distressed by today's announcement that Israel will initiate a complete siege of the Gaza Strip, nothing allowed in, no electricity, food or fuel.
Israel's revenge on Hamas shows no bounds.
I could hear the screaming of the kids. Gaza has been suffering for 3 days without electricity, no goods, no medicine for hospitals.
700 already dead in Gaza. Civilians are paying the heaviest price.
Israeli fighter jets are still flying overhead. It seems that this night the Palestinian in Gaza has never seen before.
Israel has amassed 300,000 reservists, many headed for the Gaza border, with Israelis from around the world recalled to fight.
The military appears to be mobilizing for a large-scale ground offensive.
In Israel, the death toll passing 900 as Hamas continues to bombard the south.
There was a barrage of rockets coming from Gaza.
Sirens all throughout Israel. They will do what's needed in order to stop those attacks.
They are savages. Hamas is ISIS. And just as the forces of civilizations united to defeat ISIS, the forces of civilization must support Israel in defeating Hamas.
The group now threatens to broadcast the execution of one of its 100 Israeli hostages each time a civilian building is bombed without warning.
The government of Israel knows they will open the gates of hell if they try to destroy Gaza.
I want the world to demand to release those innocent civilians. I want these children and women and babies back home, and I want my children back home.
Israel is a state of aggression and occupation, and it is our people's right to defend themselves.
Israel will win this war. And when Israel wins, the entire civilized world wins.
Well, joining us from Israel is Phil Chester. Phil, you've been visiting your son in Israel. He's an IDF reservist. He's now been called up to help with the fight. How did all that unfold for him?
The first siren was around 8 a.m. I think by about 11 o'clock he was on his way to the base. He's been, was very level-headed about it. We weren't there, but when he kissed the kids goodbye and his wife and said, "I'm going," apparently it was a very difficult moment, as you can imagine. He's obviously not in a position and wasn't in a position to tell us any details of what he was doing. But, we were obviously very worried about that. But, we were very proud of him as well. He's doing what he was trained to do and protect the people.
Phil, the context for this is extraordinary because before the Hamas attack, the Netanyahu government was under a lot of pressure. There were a lot of protests against that government. There was a lot of criticism even on the Palestinian issue and how he was handling that. There was concern about the judiciary and the independence of that and how it could hold the government to account. There was protests about settlers and even the extent to which they should be allowed just to sort of remain unchecked in Palestinian territories. And now this happens. Does any of that sort of, I don't know if you want to call it division, but any of that sort of conversation, any of that sort of even sympathy for the Palestinian cause in some sectors of society, does any of that still exist, or has it been completely obliterated now in the aftermath of this attack?
It's a good question. There has been obviously a lot of division and internal conflict within Israel over a number of issues, and it's been bubbling. I think the first point I want to make, though, is seeing the country now join as one to defend itself and its innocent citizens has been remarkable. To your second point, the people of Israel still want peace. I think we have to draw a distinction between dealing with ordinary Palestinians, trying to find a solution, a two-state solution, also with Gaza, which is more complicated. There's a great difference between that and trying to deal with frankly, a genocidal terrorist organisation like Hamas.
Phil, the UN has called for restraint in Israel's response to Gaza. Is it proportionate, do you think?
Today, Israel has to do what it can to prevent an organisation like Hamas, a terrorist organisation, again try and infiltrate its borders with thousands of terrorists and try and kill as many people as they can. And that's what Israel's dealing with now. It's complicated, sure. Lots of civilians in a very small area in Gaza, and that's not easy to deal with. But something has to be done about Hamas because you can never negotiate with them. They're not interested. They just want to destroy.
Phil, we appreciate it's such an impossible time for you and your family. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, let's head to Gaza now and see what this looks like from that position. Journalist and human rights activist Maha Hussaini is with us. Maha, I don't think Australians could imagine what life is like in Gaza right now, before even, but especially right now. Could you give us some kind of sense of it?
Yeah, hello everyone. Actually, we're now on the fourth day in a row of the Israeli attack on Gaza, and every night has been harsher than the night before. There is no place that is safe in Gaza. Every place across the Gaza Strip has been targeted. Every neighborhood that is densely populated has been also targeted. Many of these of the residents of these neighborhoods have been evacuated and displaced. We are talking now about around 200,000 people who have been displaced from their homes and neighborhoods as a result of the continuous attacks. And the thing is that those people, the hundreds of thousands of people who have been displaced, have nowhere to go. Many of them have gone or have sought refuge in UNRWA schools, but the vast majority of those are still staying at relatives' homes or relatively safer areas. And the situation is really dire as I said, there is no place that is safe, but also when Israel, thousands of Palestinians, for example, received text messages from Israel, from the IDF, asking them to evacuate to other areas. For example, 2 days ago, particularly in the north of Gaza, in Beit Hanun, residents received dozens of text calls or text messages from IDF calling them to move to the center of the town because they were going to bomb the north of the town. After they have moved to the center, Israel actually bombed the center of this town. So we do not know where to go. Actually, residents do not know where to seek refuge. There are no shelters in Gaza, no tunnels to seek protection. And what is adding insult to injury is that Israel has yesterday imposed a total siege on Gaza, cutting electricity, fuel, water, and food supplies, in addition to medical supplies also entering the Gaza Strip. So what we're talking about here is that Israel is actually besieging 2 million residents and trying to keep them cut off from the world. A crime of starvation is looming on the horizon.
Maha, it's hard to find people in Gaza to speak to at the moment. We really appreciate you being available to us to be able to tell us what is happening there. Feels like saying stay safe is insufficient, but we do mean it at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much.